What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 269. We have Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, and this card is phenomenal. On paper, one of the best, if not the best card of the year. Usually there's one fight on the card where you're like, hey, I'm going to take a bathroom break, maybe a smoke break, go get something to eat. But no, every single fight on this card is good. Not one bad fight. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. From a fan perspective and a betting perspective as well. Staying away from the straight bets this week. Don't have any straight bets as of now. I'm more so on the props this week. A lot of props sticking out. I have 3 big plays, 1 big parlay as well. So looking forward to bouncing back from last week. And yeah, this is coming out a little bit late. Usually I spend all day Sunday preparing, researching the card, but Sunday I was not feeling good. I woke up, felt like I had a hangover. I didn't even drink the night before. So took a big nap on Sunday, was not able to, get as much research as I wanted to, and I didn't want to come on here and just half-ass these predictions. So I spent Monday, Tuesday, and a little bit Wednesday catching up, getting through these fights, and I feel like I'm ready now. But yeah, looking forward to this card for sure. Like I said, I do want to have some announcements to make. The first announcement is the winner from last week's contest. It's going to be OMalley, and he guessed 235 significant strikes. The correct answer between Jose Aldo and Rob Font was 235 significant strikes. Shout out to you, OMalley. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, comment down below your PayPal or your Cashapp. I'll get you your winnings there, so shout out to you. And I am going to do it once again for this 269 card to enter the contest and get a chance to win like OMalley did. First, leave a like on the video. Second, subscribe to the channel. And third, comment down how many significant strikes you think that Oliveira and Poirier are going to combine for. $25 to first. And if there is a tie, first one that comments first gets it. There we go. So yeah, like I said, looking forward to bouncing back. Was very high on Leonardo Santos last week, and that was just a big punch in the face, man. I felt like the fight could have been stopped not once but twice. That was a huge swing for me. He was my biggest play of the night. I had him bet straight and then also to win in rounds 1 or rounds 2. And I was just watching. I was like, dude, come on. Like, how unlucky could you get? Hurt Clay Guida bad to the body. Was barely defending himself, and then Needham dropped him again, and Keith Peterson was nowhere to be found. But to be honest, that's why we love MMA. Things like that. It's just so unpredictable. But yeah, looking forward to bouncing back here in a big way. Have my 3rd max bet of the year, 2 for 2 thus far this year. I was 2 for 2 last year, hoping to close the year cashing in this max bet, and yeah, looking forward to it. So before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like, as always, it is much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. A lot of work goes into this. And, I have so much respect for all the content creators out there because this is not easy. Going out there, putting yourself out there, spending hours of your day only to have people crap on you at times. But I really do appreciate all the support week in and week out. A lot of you guys are phenomenal. And we're going to keep rolling, and we're going to keep rolling into this card, starting with the very first fight of the night. We have Priscilla Cachoeira, Zombie Girl, a.k.a. Catch a Beating, going against Jillian Robertson, the Savage. This fight is going to be a fun one to kick off the card. We have Jillian Robertson, 26 years old, 5'5", with a 63-inch reach, 9-6 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Priscilla Cachoeira, 33 years old, 5'7", with a 65-inch reach, 10-3 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and Robertson is going to be the second biggest favorite on the entire card, opening at -300 and currently -400. Priscilla Cachoeira opened up +250 and currently +300. So yeah, big favorite here in Jillian Robertson. And at first, looking into it, first look, I was like, what the heck? Jillian Robertson is -400. But after looking into it, I definitely see why. So I do want to get in some stats on this fight and then a couple fights on the card. This is one of them. So in terms of the striking stats, Jillian Robertson, very low volume, lands 2.01 significant strikes per minute with a 49% accuracy, absorbing 2.52 with a negative 0.51 significant strike differential and a 51% striking defense. And here's the numbers for Priscilla Cachoeira, and you're going to see why they call her the Zombie Girl or Catch a Beating. She lands 3.81 significant strikes per minute with a horrendous 40% accuracy and then absorbing 7.03 significant strikes per minute with a negative 3.22 significant strike differential and a 41% striking defense, and that's a good amount of sample size there. And a lot of it is from the Valentina fight, but still, in a lot of her fights, she's getting hit with barely any to no defense at all. I mean, going back and watching the Luana Carolina fight, Luana landed like 3 head kicks in a row against Priscilla Cachoeira, and one of them dropped her. I mean, it was just kind of laughable how hittable she really is. But she's very, very tough. They call her Zombie Girl for a reason. And you know why this price tag is where it's at? Well, there's a couple reasons. You go back and watch, you can throw the Valentina fight out the window. It's Valentina. She submitted her. That happens. It was the biggest mismatch probably in UFC history. But then she goes out there against Molly McCann, and we know Molly McCann's not the best wrestler. She takes down Priscilla Cachoeira twice. She gets her in a really deep armbar, almost finishes the fight, but Priscilla's able to get out of it. And then against Luana Carolina gets her in 3 different submissions, almost finishes her a couple times. And Luana Carolina, Molly McCann, I think Carolina's like a blue belt, Molly McCann's a purple belt. And then against Gina Mazzani, who I believe is a purple belt as well, was taken down Priscilla Cachoeira very easily. And Priscilla's takedown defense is extremely questionable. It's 63%, but it's that good, and it's not good, but it's 63% because of the Molly McCann fight, because Molly McCann did go 2 for 11. So if you do throw that fight out, we see that Mazzani went out there and went 4 for 9. We see that Luana Carolina did not even take her down, but almost submitted her a couple times. And then Valentina went, I think, 2 for 2. So, yeah, her takedown defense is very questionable. And what's even more questionable is her submission defense. I mean, almost getting submitted by Carolina and Molly McCann just does not sit right with me. Jillian Robertson, she's a legit black belt in BJJ. She has submission wins over Courtney Casey, Sarah Froda, knocked her out there with a TKO, Veronica Macedo, Molly McCann, Emily Whitmire. So yeah, she's no joke on the mat. And what I like about Robertson is, in some of these fights where you have a striker versus a grappler, some of the things you worry about is, one, the IQ. Jillian Robertson has phenomenal IQ. She knows that her bread and butter is the ground game. She's going to go to those takedowns early and often. And then also the cardio is another thing you are concerned about, like Gina Mazzani. Gina Mazzani was having a ton of success until she gassed out. Jillian Robertson has really good cardio as well. So I think on the feet, yeah, you got to favor Priscilla Cachoeira because she's going to have the power advantage. But my goodness, is she so hittable that I feel like anytime Robertson throws something, it's just going to land. But, Robertson needs to get this fight down to the mat. And when she does, I feel like she's going to finish it by submission in the first round. So, yeah, give me Jillian Robertson by submission. I think the level on the mat is extremely wide, and I see why the line is wide there. So give me Robertson, first round sub. All right, another banger here, Randy Costa, Tony Kelly. We have Randy Costa, who is 27 years old, 5'9", with a 73-inch reach, 6-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Tony Kelly, 34 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach, 7-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Costa is going to have a tail of tape advantage here. He's going to be a good 7 years younger. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage as well. And we'll get into the odds of this fight, but Costa opened up -110. He went all the way down to -200, and he's now -170. So it looks like some money as of late is coming back in on Tony Kelly. Kelly opened at -110, went up to +170, and he's now back down to +145. So there's just so many concerns I have with Randy Costa. The one big concern is the cardio. This is a guy that every time we've seen him get out of that first round, he folds. I mean, he folded against Brandon Davis, was looking really good in that first round, gets submitted in the second. He was looking phenomenal against a very good striker, and Adrian Yanez, and he gets finished in the second round. And he's just so explosive. He's so high volume, and he's putting everything into all of his shots that, yeah, he's gonna slow down as the fight goes on. And all the evidence we see out of Randy Costa when he gets to the second round, he just folds. Tony Kelly, with him, there are some things I don't like thus far in the UFC in 2 fights, both went 15 minutes. He has a 43% striking defense. He is absorbing more than he's giving out, which you don't like to see that. You don't want to be hittable against Randy Costa. So I think Costa is going to have a lot of opportunities to, finish Kelly early. But if he does not finish Kelly early, Kelly's going to win. I mean, this is something that is from a live betting standpoint that I'm going to really keep my eye on. If Randy Costa knocks out Kelly early, so be it. But if Kelly's able to survive that early storm, I think Kelly's going to win because Kelly's going to have the cardio advantage. And then he's been to the third round. He's been to decision, unlike Randy Costa, who I don't believe has still never been over that 1.5 round mark. And honestly, I don't think that changes here. I think Costa does finish him early. But do I want to lay chalk on a guy like Randy Costa? Not really. If I was to bet Costa, which I'm not, it would be like Randy Costa round 1, Randy Costa inside the distance, because I really have question marks about his gas tank and what happens when it does get extended. So yeah, it's Costa for me. but I think there's absolutely no value probably on the money line. Just because I think he's first round or bust. So give me Randy Costa for the win. I think he does knock out Tony Kelly in the first round, but if he does not, I think the fight gets very, very interesting. And speaking of interesting, this fight is probably one of the more interesting fights on the card, at least stylistically. We have Ryan Hall going against Derrick Minner. Ryan Hall, he's 36 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach, 8-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Derrick Minner, 31 years old, 5'7", with a 71-inch reach, 26-12 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Ryan Hall is a favorite, opening up -260, currently -200. Derrick Minner opened up +220 and is currently +170. This is a fight where I feel like this fight could go so many different ways. I guess the big things to point out is Derrick Minner. He is the definition of a kill or be killed fighter. This is a finisher. Derrick Minner has an 89% finish rate, and Derrick Minner has been finished a massive 11 times, and 8 of those are coming by submission. And first look, I was like, hey, maybe Derrick Minner could be an underdog to look at. But after looking into it, I just can't get there. This guy has 1 round of gas, and he just makes so many mistakes on the mat. Getting submitted 8 times is not good when you're going against one of the best grapplers in the division in a Ryan Hall. But, Ryan Hall, he's 36 years old. He looked horrendous in his last fight against Ilia Topuria. But I just feel like Minner is going to engage in the grappling. Ryan Hall is going to do those Imanari rolls. He's going to do everything in his power to get the fight down to the mat. And I feel like Minner is going to follow him down there and eventually get caught in a submission. I feel like Minner can have success early, but Minner has success early in the majority of his fights, pretty much all of them. But when the fight gets into the second round, the third round, that's when he starts, slowing down a ton, gassing out. And that's when I think Ryan Hall is going to catch him in a sub. I'm going to say second round submission for Ryan Hall here. But I don't feel great about it. Like on the feet, most people are going to have a striking advantage against Ryan Hall, but I really gotta probably favor the striking of Ryan Hall in this fight against Derrick Minner. Minner doesn't have great striking. He's more so of a grappler. That's his bread and butter. And Ryan Hall's striking is very, very tricky. And even in a lot of Ryan Hall's fights in the UFC, not the last one against Ilia Topuria, there's no way he's outstriking him. But against Darren Elkins, he outlands Darren Elkins 36-29. He drops Darren Elkins twice. Against Gray Maynard, he outlands Gray Maynard 46-12. I mean, his striking is not horrible. Against Artem Lobov, he outstrikes him 23-2. Like, he has some very unorthodox striking, but it definitely works at times, and I feel like it could work against Derrick Minner. So yeah, this fight can go so many different ways. I would recommend staying away from this one, but give me Ryan Hall to win after Derrick Minner gasses out. Seems to be what happens in the majority of Derrick Minner fights. Early sub for Minner or early sub loss for Minner. It's either one or the other. I'm going to take Ryan Hall to get that second round submission. All right, we're going to keep moving on here. We have Alex Perez going against Matt Schnell. Alex Perez, he is 29 years old, 5'6", with a 65.5-inch reach, 24-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Matt Schnell, 31 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 15-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Alex Perez going to be 2 years younger. He's going to be at a 2-inch height disadvantage and a 4.5-inch reach disadvantage as well. So tail the tape advantage probably going to Matt Schnell. He's going to be the much bigger fighter. We'll take a look at the odds here. And Alex Perez, I believe, is the third. Yeah, he's about the third, around the third or fourth biggest favorite on the card, opening up -300, currently -310. Matt Schnell opening up +250 and is currently +260. I am very impressed with what I see from Alex Perez. This is a guy that is about as well-rounded as you can get. His striking's really good. We saw those leg kicks in the Formiga fight. Very dangerous on the feet as well. Throws with a ton of power. Puts a lot into his shots. The wrestling, that's his bread and butter. Very, very impressive wrestling from Alex Perez. I believe he has a wrestling background. And then the BJJ is really good as well. I mean, I'm just really impressed with Alex Perez, just a very well-rounded mixed martial artist. As far as Matt Schnell goes, he's somebody that he kind of changed up his style a little bit. You take a look at some of his fights earlier, and he's getting into these wars, he's getting into these brawls, and he's getting hurt, and he's getting knocked out. Hector Sandoval knocked him out with like the least powerful hammer fist I've ever seen. Put this dude out. Rob Font knocked him out. Pantoja knocked him out. But we saw in the Tyson Nam fight, he kind of brought in a very good game plan. We know Tyson Nam hits very, very hard, where Schnell was able to kind of stick on the outside and just outpoint him, win a decision there. And he kind of looked a little, the same against Rodrigo Bontorin. Not that brawling style, that fun style that he usually brings. He kind of calmed himself down a little bit in those past 2 fights. So I'm curious to see what style Matt Schnell does bring here, but this just seems like a really tough matchup for Matt Schnell, because on the feet, it's going to be Alex Perez that's going to have the advantage, in my opinion. The volume, the leg kicks, the power, and I think Matt Schnell has one of the most questionable chins in the division, and I think Alex Perez, if he comes in, catches him with something hard, I think he can put Schnell down. And then also Schnell's takedown defense is very, very questionable, 50%. I feel like Alex Perez, if he's not liking how it's going on the feet, he can take it down to the mat. But that would kind of give Matt Schnell his path to victory. Matt Schnell, what I saw off his back, is very impressive. He submitted Jordan Espinoza off his back. He submitted Luis Smoke off his back. He is very slick off his back, so Alex Perez is going to have to mind his P's and Q's. But Alex Perez has been submitted a handful of times. He's been submitted 4 times in his career. So, yeah, if he does decide to take it to the mat, he's going to have to really be careful. But I feel like he can mix in takedowns. I feel like he's going to be the one that dictates where the fight goes. And I feel like he finishes Matt Schnell here. But I think someone's getting finished. I feel like it could be a Schnell, maybe submission off his back. Maybe he catches Perez. Or I think Perez can knock him out here. So I'm going to take Perez to win by knockout. But, yeah, the odds do seem a little bit wide. I think Matt Schnell is getting counted at a little bit in this fight. But give me Alex Perez for the win. Give me Alex Perez to win by knockout. All right, next we have Miranda Maverick going against Erin Blanchfield. And, first look, I was like, I have no clue who I'm picking here. And after taping it, after looking into it, I still have no clue. I have kind of a clue who I'm picking, but I just have no confidence in this fight. This is a very tough fight to call. Miranda Maverick, she is 24 years old, 5'3", with a 65.5-inch reach, 9-3, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Erin Blanchfield, 22 years old, 5'4", 68-inch reach, 7-1, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So we see that Miranda Maverick opened up as a plus 135 dog. She's now minus 133. Erin Blanchfield opened up minus 155. She's now plus 113. So the line kind of flipped there after the opener. Yeah, so you take a look at these fighters. I mean, first of all, I don't know why they matched Maverick and Blanchfield up against each other at all. I mean, 2 prospects that you think you might want to build them up a little bit, especially considering, they're so young. Maverick 24, Blanchfield 22, but no, they're matching 2 promising prospects up here against each other. We got to pick one. So the striking is very, very close. I'm very impressed what I see from Blanchfield in her striking. She has a nice head kick. She head kicked Victoria Leonardo a couple times and ended up finishing her in that fight. Her striking looked really good against Sarah Alpar as well. Maverick, her striking looks to be improving at a rapid rate. I was not all that sold on her, striking earlier in her career, but we see that her striking is looking a lot improved. So the striking's very close. The grappling's very, very close. Blanchfield, her grappling is phenomenal. I probably even will give Blanchfield a slight grappling advantage, but Maverick is a brown belt. Her grappling's really good. I guess the one thing that I did see going back and watching some Maverick fights is she can be taken down. Jillian Robertson took her down twice, and she was taken down outside of the UFC a few different times. And when she is off her back, she is content to kind of lay there on times. And if Blanchfield's able to get this fight down to the mat, I feel like she can get some top control. I'm not completely sold on Blanchfield's wrestling. Going back and watching some of her fights, it doesn't look amazing. She was able to take down Sarah Alpar 3 times, but that's Sarah Alpar, who has a 20% takedown defense. So, and really, you can't even look into that Sarah Alpar fight that much because, well, it's Sarah Alpar. So I'm really, struggling with this fight. I think I'm going to side with the dog here in Blanchfield, but if Maverick, won this fight, it just wouldn't surprise me. So I'm going to take the dog in Blanchfield. Very close fight. I feel like these fighters are just so similar to each other. The striking's close. The wrestling's close. The grappling's close. They're close in age, height, reach. Everything's close about this fight. So I'm going to take the dog here in Blanchfield, but not with a ton of confidence. Give me Erin Blanchfield to win. Give me Blanchfield to win by decision. All right, here we go. Andre Menis going against Eric Anders. Menis, 31 years old, 6'1", with a 78-inch reach, 21-4, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Eric Anders, 34 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach, 14-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Menis is going to be 3 years younger. Same height. Menis is going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here. So, yeah, this is a very interesting fight. We have a clash of styles, a striker versus a grappler. Menis opened up minus 125. He's now minus 133. Eric Anders opened up plus 105. He's now plus 113. And I do want to, talk about a little bit of numbers in this fight. So Andre Menis, his striking is not really that great. Only lands 2.16 significant strikes per minute. He has a 45% striking defense, so he is very, very hittable. Eric Anders is hittable in his own right. He does have a negative significant strike differential, but I do give the striking advantage to Eric Anders. I feel like if you can keep it on the feet, he's going to be able to outstrike and potentially knock out Andre Menis, who has been knocked out in all 4 of his losses. But Eric Anders is a guy that he's untrustworthy at times. Sometimes I do question his fight IQ, but he is training at Fight Ready. He's been training at Fight Ready the last 2 camps, and he's been looking a lot good. He went out there, almost finished Darren Stewart up until an illegal knee, back to the fight IQ, right? And then came back against Darren Stewart at 205, and then won a decision there. And I thought he looked like the best he ever had in the first Darren Stewart fight when he almost knocked him out. He looked like good physically. The striking looked good. He looked dangerous. He looked powerful. He looked strong. I really liked what I saw from Eric Anders up until the illegal knee. But yeah, this is such a tough fight to call. I thought I would actually be betting Eric Anders until really digging into the fight, because Andre Menis, you look at some of his fights and his wrestling just looks really sloppy. He was able to take down Antonio Arroyo 3 times, but as we know, Antonio Arroyo has trash takedown defense, 41%. And some of his takedown attempts were just really sloppy. And he was able to get them because they were against Arroyo, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get those same ones against Eric Anders. And in that fight against Arroyo, it was probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen, where both guys gassed out after 2 minutes. Just a very sloppy fight. Bartosz Fabinski took him down and he submitted him right away. And then going back to the Jacare Souza fight, he did time some takedowns very good. So I was impressed with his wrestling a little bit more in that fight, but still have question marks about it. Jacare Souza, he has a 57% takedown defense. Like I said, Antonio Arroyo, a 41% takedown defense. I'm curious to see if he can take down a guy that has fought at 205 like Eric Anders, a guy that is huge, is very strong, and has a 76% takedown defense. Because if he can take down Eric Anders, although Anders is a brown belt in BJJ, not many people, well, nobody is going out there and submitting Jacare Souza, and Andre Menis snapped his arm. So if this fight hits the mat in any type of way, Eric Anders is probably going to be in big trouble, no matter how good of a grappler I think Eric Anders is, because I think Menis is a phenomenal grappler. His grappling is next level. This guy's a wizard on the mat. But I will have some serious concerns if Menis is able to, or not able to, take down Anders. If Anders is able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, get this fight extended, because I have some serious question marks about the cardio of Andre Menis. Tough fight to call. I'm going to go with Eric Anders here to stuff the takedowns, get into the second round, the third round, and eventually finish Andre Menis and give him his 5th knockout loss. But if Menis gets it to the fight once, in any type of way, whether it's Eric Anders, whether it's Menis pulling guard, Eric Anders following him to the mat, whether it's Menis taking his back standing, if this fight hits the mat in any type of way, it could be over. So I don't have a ton of confidence in this pick, but I will go with the underdog and Eric Anders, and I'll take him to win by knockout. All right, here we have my favorite fight on the card. I'm really looking forward to this fight. If you guys follow me on Instagram, DFS by the numbers, I did post a bet on this fight that I really do like, so go check that out. But we have Bruno Silva, 32 years old, 6 foot, with a 74-inch reach, 21-6 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jordan Wright, 30 years old, 6'2", with a 77-inch reach, 12-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Let's talk about the odds here. Bruno Silva opened up minus 350. He's currently minus 350. Jordan Wright opened up plus 285, and he's currently plus 285. So not much movement at all on the money line. I do want to bring up the fight doesn't go to decision line. It's minus 450, which you don't see that often at all in a 3-round fight. Minus 450 fight doesn't go to decision, and we'll talk about why that is and why that could even be wider, honestly. So let's talk about some stats a little bit. So both these guys' striking defense is horrendous thus far. Bruno Silva, thus far in the UFC, 2 fights, 1 ended early, 1 went into the 3rd round, a 37% striking defense. Jordan Wright, a decent fight sample of, I think, 4 fights, a 39% striking defense. Jordan Wright is very, very hittable. Jordan Wright keeps his chin high up in the air, and I really question the chin of Jordan Wright. Do I question the chin of Bruno Silva? No, I do not. but both of these guys are very, very dangerous. Both of these guys have a ton of power. You take a look at these finish rates between the two. Bruno Silva, an 86% finish rate, 18 knockouts. This guy hits like an absolute truck. And Jordan Wright, a finisher in his own right, a 100% finish rate in his wins and his losses. Got knocked out against Joaquin Buckley, got knocked out against Fluffy Hernandez on the Contender Series. And I think someone's going to sleep here, and it's going to sleep here probably in the first round. Just with the way both guys fight, really. Both guys want to come forward and bang. I mean, Jordan Wright in his last fight, I know people crap on him all the time. I crap on him all the time. You know, I'm Alaska Fight FC guy, but I went back and watched the Pickett fight, and the dude looked like a killer. And I know it's Jamie Pickett, but Jamie Pickett's a durable guy that had never been knocked out. And Jordan Wright destroyed this guy, hurt him multiple times, and finished him. I was impressed with Jordan Wright in that fight. That line was a pick'em between him and Jamie Pickett, and he starched him. And I mean, he starched Ike Villanueva as well. Cut him open with a knee. Like, this guy, Jordan Wright, he may not look like it, but this guy is extremely dangerous. So would it surprise me if Jordan Wright came out here, finished Bruno Silva? I mean, kinda, but not really. I think someone's getting finished here, but I think the more likely scenario is Bruno Silva marches this guy down like Fluffy did, gets him against the cage, and win. And I think Bruno Silva does a really good job at this, pushing his opponents against the cage and letting off huge combos to the body, to the head. And Jordan Wright does not block punches. He blocks them with his face, and that's not good when you don't have a chin. So yeah, Bruno Silva, round 1 knockout. But I wouldn't completely count out Beverly Hills Ninja, but I think Silva just put him out. One thing that does give me some confidence in Silva here is the fact that in 27 fights he has never been knocked out, but he has been submitted 5 times. And I just don't see Jordan Wright submitting him. Jordan Wright has not went for a takedown yet in the UFC. And Bruno Silva, believe it or not, although he's been submitted 5 times, I believe he's a black belt now. So give me Bruno Silva. Brutal knockout, but somebody's getting finished. This fight has violence written all over. Give me Bruno Silva, first round KO. All right. Heavyweight fight here, and we have a pick'em. So there's, I think, like 3 pick'ems on the card. This is one of them, and the lines are going to move a little bit, but as of now, I believe this one's still a pick'em. Augusta Sakai, he's 30 years old, 6'3", with a 77-inch reach, 15-3-1, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Tai Tuivasa, 27 years old, 6'2", with a 75-inch reach, 13-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, like I said, this fight is a straight pick'em right now. Minus 110 each way on a lot of books, minus 112. Minus 107 on Bet Online for Sakai, minus 113 on Bet Online. It's a pick'em here. And I totally agree with the line. I mean, I went through it, and you go through the tail of the tape. It's very close. Sakai is going to be 2 years older. He's going to have a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. You go through the striking numbers. They're all very, very close. You go through the grappling numbers. They're all very, very close. Neither guy's going to want to get this fight down to the mat. It is just a very, very close fight. I guess some things that do stick out is just the way these guys' careers played out. You see Augusta Sakai, he steps in on the Contender Series, wins on Contender Series, gets a knockout, has his debut against Chase Sherman, and then he fights Andrei Arlovsky, Marcin Tybura, Blago Ivanov, kind of builds himself up throughout his career, and then he fights Alistair Overeem in a 5-round main event, gets finished there, and then he fights one of the hardest hitters in the division against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, gets finished there. So he kind of built himself up as his career went on, whereas Tai Tuivasa kind of got fed to the wolves a little bit. So he got 2 easy wins with Coulter and Asker, but then they give him a veteran in Andrei Arlovsky. They give him Junior Dos Santos. They give him Blagoy Ivanov. They give him Sergey Spivak. And then they give him 3 guys that a couple of them aren't UFC caliber, like Stefan Struve. I believe that was Struve's last fight at heavyweight. Harry Hunsucker, who potentially could be the worst heavyweight in UFC history. And then also Greg Hardy as well. So he's got 3 wins in a row, but 3 very questionable wins. I guess the only thing that really does stick out, though, is going to be the cardio advantage for Sakai. Tai Tuivasa, when he's winning, it's in the first round. First round KO against Struve. First round KO against Hunsucker. First round KO against Greg Hardy. First round KO against Cyril Asker. First round KO against Rashad Coulter. When he's winning, it's in the first round. When we have seen him get out of the first round, he does slow down quite a bit. Whereas Sakai, I feel like more comfortable in his cardio. Sakai has went out there. He won a decision against Blago Ivanov. He won a decision against Andrei Arlovsky, which is really hard to do. So if this fight does get extended, I do feel more comfortable in Sakai, winning the minutes in that second and third round. But Tai Tuivasa is going to have opportunities to knock out Sakai. Sakai has been knocked out a couple times. Overeem knocked him out. Darcino knocked him out. But yeah, Sakai has a good chin, and so does Tai Tuivasa. I think this fight does get extended. I think it could even potentially go to decision. I'm going to take Sakai to win a 29-28 decision, but this fight is so dang close. Sakai, a lot of the hype has left this guy on a 2-fight skid, and Tai Tuivasa, probably the most hyped up he's ever been. People really like this guy, and so do I. Going out there doing shoeies after getting knockouts, very fun guy. So I kind of do see why it's a pick'em, and it probably should be a pick'em. It's a close fight, but I will edge with Sakai ever so slightly. All right, now we have another pick'em fight here. We have Dominick Cruz going against Pedro Munhoz. We have Dominick Cruz, 36 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach, 23-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Pedro Munhoz, 35 years old, 5'6", with a 65-inch reach, 19-6, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, Dominick Cruz and Pedro Munhoz both for bantamweight. They're getting up there in age. Usually after 35, yeah, they're getting up there. So they both are past 35 here. Munhoz, slightly younger, but yeah, Dominick Cruz now 36. I think he's turning 37, in 3 months. So yeah, he's definitely getting up there. The tail of the tape is it's close-ish. Pedro Munhoz is going to be 1 year younger, but Dominick Cruz is going to have a 2-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. So I probably give the tail of the tape advantage to Dominick Cruz. When it comes to the striking, there are some stats I do want to point out. Dominick Cruz does land 3.65 significant strikes per minute with a 32% accuracy, absorbing 2.42. That's phenomenal, with a positive 1.23 significant strike differential and a 72% striking defense, which that has got to be one of the best striking defenses in the UFC. Pedro Munhoz, very high volume guy, lands 5.55 significant strikes per minute with a 43% accuracy, absorbing 6.02 with a negative 0.47 significant strike differential and a 57% striking defense. So Pedro Munhoz, he gets hit a lot. Absorbing 6 strikes is definitely a concern. We can talk about the grappling stats a little bit, but honestly, I don't really see either guy going for takedowns here. Dominick Cruz would be the one if there was a takedown in this fight. He does land 3 per 15 minutes, but I don't know if you want to shoot against a guy as dangerous as Pedro Munhoz. Another close fight. We have another fight that is pretty much a straight pick of -110 each way, and I get it. I don't know if I can trust Dominick Cruz at 36, almost 37, but Pedro Munhoz, he is not much younger. I think the bigger cage does favor a guy like Dominick Cruz. He's going to want to use that movement, use that footwork, not let Munhoz get off those leg kicks. So the big cage is huge, in my opinion, for Dominick Cruz, and the fact that he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, I think that's huge, and the bigger fighter. I feel like this is a very winnable fight for Dominick Cruz, and I will pick him to win by decision, but Munhoz is very dangerous. He's probably going to be landing the harder shots. He's going to be landing some leg kicks, and if this fight does hit the mat, like, Munhoz is live for a submission against anybody. So I'm going to take Dominick Cruz to win. I'm going to take him to win by decision, kind of staying on the outside and picking apart Pedro Munhoz. But yeah, this is a very close fight. It could go either way. All right, we have a banger here. We have Josh Emmett going against Dan Ige. Josh Emmett, 36 years old, 5'6", with a 70-inch reach, 16-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Dan Ige, 30 years old, 5'7", with a 71-inch reach, 15-4. And 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Some crazy line movement on this one. We see that Josh Emmett opened up -200. He's now -159. Dan Ige opened up +170. He is now +139. So money coming in on Ige, and I can kind of see why. So on paper, this is a very close fight. Dan Ige is going to be 6 years younger. I think that is something to mention. Josh Emmett, 36 years old at featherweight. He's getting up there in age. He's coming off of an injury. He's coming off in a layoff. and that is not good. The last time Josh Emmett did fight was a year and 5 months ago, so I don't love that for Josh Emmett. In terms of the striking, I think it's going to be very competitive on the feet, but Josh Emmett is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, hitter in the division. Even like pound for pound in the UFC, he's definitely up there with some of the hardest hitters. Like, this guy hits like an absolute truck. You take a look at Josh Emmett in his last 6 fights. In his last 6 fights, he has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 knockdowns in his last 6 fights. At least 1 knockdown in his last 6 fights. Just shows you how hard this guy hits. 2 knockdowns against Shane Burgos. A knockdown against Bektic. A knockdown against Johnson. A knockdown against Stevens. A knockdown against Lamas. 4 knockdowns the fight prior to that against Felipe Arantes. So yeah, this guy hits like an absolute truck. It's insane. So yeah, I feel like in terms of like the numbers, I feel like they could be very competitive. Josh Emmett at times is low volume, but there also is other times where he's high volume. Like in the Shane Burgos fight, it was nuts. This is a guy that landed 127 significant strikes. Imagine hitting that hard and landing 127 significant strikes through 266. If he comes in here and throws that amount of volume, I think there's a very good chance that he wins this fight. I think, like I said, I think the volume, at least in the numbers, is going to be very competitive, but we're going to see clearly who is landing the harder shots. I feel like Emmett's going to be able to get knockdowns here or there, maybe potentially finish Dan Ige, who is very tough and never been finished, but we have seen Ige knocked down. Edson Barbosa knocked him down, and I would not be shocked at all if Josh Emmett got a knockdown in his 7th fight in the row. This guy hits very hard. So yeah, I'm going to take Josh Emmett to win here, but if he does not knock out Dan Ige or knock him down or hurt him, yeah, it's going to be very close. I mean, give me Josh Emmett to win, though. I think the power will be key here. Very, very hard hitter. I don't know if he knocks out Ige, though. I'm going to say Josh Emmett decision. All right, getting into the main card here. We have 5 great fights on this main card. Sean O'Malley, Rolian Paiva. Sean O'Malley, 27 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 14-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Paiva, 26 years old, 5'8", 69.5-inch reach, 21-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Sean O'Malley, 1 year older, 3-inch height advantage, and also a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Or a 2.5-inch reach advantage, my bad. But we'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Sean O'Malley is a big favorite, like the 3rd or 4th biggest favorite on the card. Opening at minus 330, he's now minus 300. Rolian Paiva opened up plus 270, he's now plus 250. So I do want to get into some stats on this one. And they're nuts. Sean O'Malley is going to have a massive, massive striking advantage. He lands 8.25 significant strikes per minute with a 62% accuracy, absorbing 3.59 significant strikes with a positive 4.66 significant strike differential and a 65% striking defense. Some of the best numbers you'll see, and a lot of that is from the Chris Montino fight, but still, Sean O'Malley is going to have a massive striking advantage in this fight. In the Montino fight, Sean O'Malley landed 230 significant strikes. Very, very impressive, although it was against Montino, who does not have striking defense, but still impressive nonetheless. Rolian Paiva, on the other hand, very concerning striking numbers. He lands 4.24 significant strikes per minute with a 43% accuracy, absorbing 4.9 significant strikes per minute with a negative 0.66 significant strike differential and a 50% striking defense. So he's actually getting hit more than he's throwing out, and that's concerning, but it's even more concerning when you're taking a look at who this guy's fighting. I mean, he's fighting Kyler Phillips, who beat him, or did not beat him, should have been a draw there. Zalga Sumagulov is outstriking him 66-52. He's having competitive numbers with Mark De La Rosa, 54 to 50 to 45 for De La Rosa. He got outstruck by Bontarin in a fight that did not last long. Got outstruck on his Contender Series fight against Alan Nascimento. Like, that's not good. He arguably lost to Kai Kara France as well. Like, I just don't know how I feel about Rolian Paiva. Like, he's in a lot of these close fights at times. He had one really good win against Mark De La Rosa, but that's Mark De La Rosa. Yeah, so, back to the Kai Kara France fight. I feel like, he lost that fight, but I feel like it was close. It was very close. He outlanded Kai Kara France in terms of the numbers, but, Kai Kara France was able to take him down 2 times. Maybe the takedowns did sway the judges, but yeah, it was a close fight. So so kind of a good loss there, I guess. I thought he won, potentially. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to go OMalley. I'm going to go OMalley by knockout. I guess the only concern I would have would be if Paiva is able to get OMalley down, but Paiva just does not shoot takedowns. Paiva lands, about 0.62 per 15 minutes, and the wrestling's bad, 27% accuracy. If he can get on top of OMalley, yeah, I think he's going to have success. Paiva actually is a black belt, but I just don't see it happening. I think it's a spot for OMalley here. Give me OMalley to win. Give me OMalley to win by knockout. Just very, I guess, unimpressed with Raleigh and Paiva. But this is going to be a step up in competition. Going from Chris Montino to anybody is going to be a step up in competition. So yeah, give me Sean O'Malley to win. Give me Sean O'Malley to win by knockout. Kaikar France going against Cody Garbrandt. We have Cody Garbrandt, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 65.5-inch reach, 12-4, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Kaikar France, 28 years old, 5'4", with a 66.5-inch reach, 22-9, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So, tail of the tape, France is going to be 2 years younger. France is going to be 4 inches shorter, but France will have a 1-inch height advantage. I do want to talk about the betting odds and then get into some numbers here. Garbrandt opened up -125. He's now -133. France opened up +105. He's now +113. This is a very tough fight to call because you look at the numbers and everything is pointing in the direction of Kaikar France. He's going to be higher volume. He's going to have the better striking defense. He has an 86% takedown defense. So if Cody wants to come in and wrestle, he's going to be able to stuff takedowns. But the only thing that does stick out like a sore thumb is going to be the level of competition. Cody Garbrandt is, out here, beating Dominick Cruz. Very, very good win, especially at the time. And he is out here, losing to very good fighters like TJ Dillashaw, not once but twice. And he's also losing to Rob Font, who just main evented against Jose Aldo. So he's losing against really, really good fighters, and he's beating good fighters as well. Win against Rafael Assunta, win against Dominick Cruz for the belt, win against Thomas Almeida, guys like that. So, and you look at Kaikar France, his losses are really good as well. His losses are very good. Brandon Royval and Brandon Moreno. Obviously, very good losses, but the wins are just very questionable. Elias Garcia in his debut, questionable win. A questionable win against Paiva in a fight that he arguably could have lost. A questionable win against Mark De La Rosa, who, it's Mark De La Rosa. Tyson Nam, who I think Tyson Nam might be cut. Maybe he's cut. I haven't seen him fight in a while, but if he has not been cut, maybe he will be soon. Rogerio Bontorin, that's probably his best win, Bontorin, but in that fight, he did battle a lot of adversity. Just not impressed with the wins of Kaikar France, but he has lost to good competition. This is a close fight. I feel like a lot of people are counting out Cody Garbrandt coming down a weight class for the first time. It's not a good look. What's his durability going to be look like? But I feel like the harder hitter is going to be Cody Garbrandt in this fight. And I feel like, France, I kind of question his chin in his own right. I mean, getting knocked down twice by a grappler in Paiva is not the best look in the world. He also got dropped in his debut. I have no clue what to do with this fight. I think I'm going to pick Garbrandt. I think he has overall fought the better competition, but there's just so many question marks and red flags that I cannot bet this fight. But yeah, give me Cody Garbrandt. I'm going to take him to win by knockout. Kaikar France has been knocked out twice before. I think that there's a good chance that somebody gets knocked out here, but I'm going to say Cody Garbrandt does knock him out, but I just can't be confident in it. Moving on. Speaking of no confidence, this fight is insane. Geoff Neal, Santiago Ponzinibbio. Geoff Neal, 31 years old, 5'11", with a 75-inch reach, 13-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Santiago Ponzinibbio, 35 years old, 6 foot with a 73-inch reach, 28-4 and 4-1 in his last fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Ponzinibbio opened up -115. He's now -130. And Geoff Neal opened up -105, and he's currently +110. So, yeah, everybody's betting on Ponzinibbio this week. I don't know many people that aren't betting on him because there is a seriously concerning narrative out there that, well, it's not a narrative, it happened. Geoff Neal got caught, DUI, gun possession, and that was like a week before the fight, so it's not a good look. He's out there drinking before a fight. So just that alone, I thought I would be, blind betting Ponzinibbio here, because you do not like to see that on the Geoff Neal side. But after like really looking into the matchup, I thought to myself, man, if Geoff Neal is not, if I did not know this, if this information did not come out, I'd be on Geoff Neal here. And the reason being is you take a look at Santiago Ponzinibbio. He came back after a 3-year layoff, just about. I think it was like 2.5 years against the Leech, and he got knocked out in that fight against the Leech. It was not a good look, and it wasn't like he got caught out of nowhere. He was winning the fight up until then. No, he was actually losing the fight pretty handily, and then gets knocked out by the Leech. And then against Miguel Baeza, he gets hurt a bunch in that first round. He gets wobbled in the first round, but Baeza starts to slow down, and Ponzinibbio ends up taking over as the fight goes on. But yeah, Baeza was picking him apart in that first round and hurting him at times. And, Geoff Neal is a guy that hits extremely hard. They call him hands of steel for a reason. This is a guy that is, definitely hits harder than like a Miguel Baeza. Both guys hits hard, but I do give the power advantage to Geoff Neal. And, Santiago Ponzinibbio ate 104 significant strikes against Baeza, where I don't know if he's going to be able to eat those same shots against Geoff Neal. But, how can you have any confidence in Geoff Neal? Drinking the week before a fight, DUI, I get it. But, man, if he shows up and he looks good at the weigh-ins, like, I feel like this is a winnable fight for him to come out here and bounce back after losing 2 straight. And the 2 that he lost, like, they're tough matchups. Stephen Thompson, very tough matchup. Neil Magny had a 5-inch reach advantage over him. And he's actually going to have the reach advantage in this fight against Santiago Ponzinibbio. And Ponzinibbio is, 35 years old. So yeah, he's going to be the younger guy. He's going to have a reach advantage as well. And he's going to have a power advantage. He hits very hard. Ponzinibbio has been knocked out 3 times. I think it's a solid spot for Neal, but I do want to see him at the weigh-ins. I want to see how he's looking. I want to see, how serious is he taking this. Because yeah, if he's showing up not taking this serious, yeah, Ponzinibbio is going to win. But maybe, I don't know. I don't know if we can look into that DUI, that much. But I'll take Neal. Do I feel great about it? Not really. How could you? But I'm going to take Neal to get the win. I think a lot of people are counting him out. I definitely understand why, but I'm going to take Neal to get the knockout here in the first round. I'm not even sure this fight will happen, though. We'll have to see. Some books have taken the lines off this fight. So we'll see what happens. Pretty crazy if it does happen, because Neal did get arrested like a couple days ago. But we'll see what happens. Give me Geoff Neal, though, for the win to pull off the upset. I think the line's going to keep getting wider and wider as the fight week goes on. All right, 2 fights to go. The co-main event and main. We have the co-main event here. Amanda Nunes going against Juliana Pena. And yeah, Nunes, 33 years old. She has 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, 21-4, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Juliana Pena, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach, 10-4, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. So we'll see that Amanda Nunes is the biggest favorite on the card. I think it's only going to get wider, honestly. Opened at -800, now -1,000. Juliana Pena opened up +500. She's currently +600. So we'll talk about the fight a little bit, but Amanda Nunes, she's the GOAT. She's the GOAT for a reason. I don't see her losing anytime soon, really, especially to Pena here. Juliana Pena, just some of the things I do got to bring up. 23% takedown defense for Juliana Pena. She could not stuff a takedown. She gets taken down easily. McMahon, she's a solid wrestler, took her down 3 times, won the first round and a half against her, up until Sarah McMahon got submitted like she always does. Nika Montano took her down 3 times. Valentina took her down twice. Katzengano took her down 3 times. I took her down. She's been taken down in about every single fight, it looks like, outside of like one against GDR, and she got submitted in that GDR fight, and that's concerning as well. GDR, that was her very first submission in her entire career. If you're getting submitted by GDR, I really don't know what to tell you. On the feed, it's going to be Amanda Nunes. On the mat, it's going to be Amanda Nunes. It's just really hard to see a path to victory for Juliana Pena outside of Nunes potentially gassing out, which, as we've seen, Amanda Nunes seems to have fixed that issue throughout her career. She went 5 rounds with Spencer. I know it was up a weight class. She went 5 rounds with GDR. She was able to go 5 rounds with Pennington, Shevchenko. She hasn't really like gassed out like very bad in like years. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Amanda Nunes here. Kind of a bold pick, but I think Amanda Nunes is going to get it done. I think she's going to get it done early, very early in the first round, whether it's a first round knockout or a first round submission, whatever she feels like doing. I think Amanda Nunes keeps the ball rolling here. And again, I just don't see anybody stopping Nunes anytime soon, and especially Payne here. So give me Nunes to win. I'm going to say first round submission. All right, the main event. I do want to remind you guys, me and Uncle Weezy went live for the main event deep dive on Monday. Go check that out. I also talked about a play that I do have on this fight on Monday. And yeah, great fight here. Probably one of my favorite fights I'm looking forward to this year. And yeah, we have Dustin Poirier, 32 years old, 5'9" with a 73-inch reach, 28-6 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Charles Oliveira, 32 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach, 31-8 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So I do want to get into some stats on this one. Dustin Poirier, he does land 5.62 significant strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy. He absorbs 4.19 significant strikes per minute with a positive 1.43 significant strike differential and a 54% striking defense. Charles Oliveira does land 3.26 significant strikes per minute with a 52% accuracy, absorbing 3.01 significant strikes per minute with a positive 0.25 significant strike differential and a 53% striking defense. I do give Dustin Poirier the striking advantage. I think he's going to be winning minutes on the feet, but that does not mean that Oliveira can't have success here or there. We have seen Poirier knocked out a couple times, got knocked out against Conor McGregor, got knocked out against Michael Johnson, and Charles Oliveira has shown that he does definitely have some knockout power. He has a lot of, he's very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. On the feet as well, he was able to knock out Michael Chandler. He's able to knock out Jared Gordon, Nick Lentz. His striking has got much improved throughout his career, and again, he's very dangerous on the feet. So although I think Poirier is going to be winning minutes, that does not mean that Charles can't hurt him at any point in this fight. As far as the grappling stats go, this is where it gets interesting. So both guys are great grapplers. Both guys are black belts. Oliveira, I think he's like a 2nd or 3rd degree black belt. He's going to have the grappling advantage for sure, and we'll talk about why. But Charles Oliveira does land 2.64 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 44% accuracy and has a 57% takedown defense. And as far as Dustin Poirier, lands a takedown and a half per 15 minutes with a 36% takedown accuracy and has a 61% takedown defense. So I don't see Poirier taking down Charles Oliveira. I'd be kind of surprised if he did. I think Poirier's game plan is going to be to keep this on the feet, and rightfully so. Charles Oliveira, I think he will try to get this fight down to the mat, and I actually think he could be successful. I mean, taking a look at Oliveira's numbers, they're actually a lot better than I expected. And just going back and watching the tape, his wrestling is very good. Because usually, these great grapplers, their wrestling is not great, and sometimes they can't get it down to the mat. But no, Charles Oliveira's wrestling is actually really solid. Again, 44% takedown accuracy. And if you're, looking at Poirier here, the 61% takedown defense is definitely something that is pretty concerning. Because if Oliveira can get on top of Dustin, Oliveira is going to have opportunities to submit Dustin. Although Dustin is a black belt, I think that Oliveira is an absolute wizard on the mat. But you take a look through Dustin's career, not many guys are trying to take him down. Conor McGregor twice did not try to take him down. Obviously, Dan Hooker took him down 4 times. Khabib took him down, obviously. But yeah, Max Holloway's not going to try to take you down. Alvarez tried to take him down a couple times in both fights. But, Gaethje's not going to try to take you down. Michael Johnson's not going to try to take you down. Guys like that, Bobby Green, Yancy Medeiros, all these guys aren't really trying to take him down. So yeah, I'm just looking through his record, and there's not a ton of guys that are trying to get him down to the mat. But when they have, they've succeeded. Like Dan Hooker did 4 times. Dan Hooker was taking him down pretty easily. And if Charles Oliveira gets on top of you, definitely could be in trouble. But I will say Dustin's takedown defense is pretty good. I think it is a little bit skewed on the numbers because of the Khabib fight. But yeah, if Oliveira can get on top, I think he'll have success. Oliveira is a finisher. Both guys are great finishers. Dustin Poirier, 75% finish rate, 54% by knockout. Oliveira, a 90% finish rate, 61% by submission. Oliveira has been finished 7 times of his 8 losses, and Poirier has been finished in 4 of his 6 losses. I don't see this fight going the distance. It's a tough fight to call. I feel like Oliveira has improved in just many ways throughout his career. He's a guy that a lot of people used to call him a quitter. A lot of people question his durability. And I think he's answered a lot of those questions. You know, going 3 rounds with Tony Ferguson, losing 2 rounds against Kevin Lee, coming back in the third and getting the submission. You know, battling adversity in the Michael Chandler fight in the first round, getting knocked down, almost put out. Coming back in the second, getting a knockout of his own. He's answering a lot of questions that I've had about him, and he's passing all these tests with flying colors. And I think, I don't know, I'm going to take Charles Oliveira here for the upset. I think, you know, he's going to get this fight down to the mat and find a submission. I think on the feet, he's dangerous as well. Could potentially hurt Dustin here or there, but it's a very, very tough fight to call. I will take Oliveira for the upset. Give me Oliveira to win. I'm going to say second round submission. But yeah, this is a very good fight. Another tough fight to call. A lot of these fights on this card are very tough to call. That's why I'm staying away from the money line bets this week. Just going with props, and I have a parlay as well. So yeah, guys, that's about it. That is the breakdown. Sorry for the delay, but wanted to make sure I was fully prepared to do this. Again, didn't want to half-ass it or nothing like that. So if you guys can leave a like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, comment down your significant strikes for Poirier, Oliveira, $25 to first place, whoever does get the closest. We'll see what happens. And this is one of the last cards of the year. Hoping to finish the year strong. Hopefully get a win here this week in terms of betting. And then also next week, and we'll see what happens. But good luck, everybody. Let's make some money for UFC 269. I'm going to be going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims. That's about it, and see you guys.